Oh, hi. Cocktail books are great to get a hold of, especially when they're really old cocktail books. Here's a reprint of an extremely old cocktail book from 1917. I got a cocktail out of this we're going to try today called the Attention Cocktail. Welcome to the Cocktail Spirit from Small Screen Network. I'm your host, Robert Hess. Now I said the Attention Cocktail is actually a very old drink. It was made, we think, around 1917 or slightly before. It first shows up in Recipes for Mixed Drink by Hugo Estlin. In that recipe, he called for equal parts of all ingredients. That recipe probably isn't going to be very well balanced. Feel free to give it a try if you want, but we're going to take it and instead modify it slightly to make it taste in a more balanced fashion. It's going to be kind of like a martini, except with, rather than the creme de violette and absinthe being real major players in it, they're going to kind of fall back to the background. So let's take a look at the Attention Cocktail. We're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of gin. Followed by 3/4 of an ounce of dry vermouth. Now I'm using a small bottle of dry vermouth here. The nice thing about this is it's easy to make sure that your dry vermouth is fairly fresh because you're going to go through it a little bit faster, and you always want to make sure you keep it in the refrigerator so that it doesn't take and go off. Dry vermouth doesn't have an awful lot of alcohol in it, so that's not going to be acting as a preservative, and it is a wine, and therefore it's going to take and go bad, not as quickly as a real wine would, but far quicker than a spirit would, and so it's very good to keep that in the refrigerator whenever possible. And now we're going to take and add 1/4 ounce of creme de violette. We're going to be using the Bitter Truth Violet Liqueur. It's a fairly new product onto the market. Creme de violette was one of those things that wasn't around for a long time. A lot of people were trying to use it. They would use violet syrups periodically, or even Parfait Amour, which really isn't the same thing. It has kind of the right color, but it's not the same product. But the Bitter Truth product, I think, is an excellent product if you can find it in your area. If not, it's available online in many locations. Now to this, we're going to take and add a couple dashes. The dash of orange bitters, like a martini normally would. So we're going to add 2 dashes. And then we're going to take and add 2 dashes of absinthe. Now you can put absinthe in a dasher bottle, take and do dashes like that. What I'm going to do instead is, hopefully with a steady hand and a spoon with a fairly small bowl on it. Okay, that was about 2 dashes that spilt over, so my hands isn't quite that steady. So now we dump the remainder. Now we add our ice. Now again, we're going to differ from the original recipe because he called to shake it, but obviously shaking a drink like this wouldn't be appropriate because it would cloud up, especially if you're using equal parts of all ingredients. So the creme de violette and the dry vermouth and the absinthe would cloud up quite a bit. Very nice purple violet color is obviously coming from the creme de violette, which is a very nice way to do it. Now there was no garnish called for in the drink originally. You could try, I think a lemon peel would work very well on this. I wouldn't try things like cherries or olives, but since he didn't call for a garnish, since so far I haven't followed his recipe, I'll follow it from this standpoint by not having a garnish at all. And there we have the Attention Cocktail. Let's see what it tastes like. Now the aroma, I'm getting the absinthe and the violets coming through, so it's kind of got a very florally, anise kind of flavor coming through. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine doing this equal parts. I mean, it would just be too assaulting on your palate. As it is, we've got a nice balance with the gin is kind of being a proud player in the background. You can kind of taste the juniper, you can taste all the botanicals in the gin. You can also taste the absinthe, even though we only use 2 dashes of it. And the violet is adding a very nice floral, almost slightly sweet flavor coming in as well from the violets, not just necessarily from the liqueur standpoint. The dry vermouth then is kind of being kind of this nice little subduing character in the background. I think this is an excellent drink. Very similar to a martini, but with a little bit of a change to it. So give it a try.